Hello everybody and welcome to Entrepreneurs Library TV. I'm your host Adam Witty, W-I-T-T-Y, like clever, smart, and funny. You're watching the most popular business book review show for entrepreneurs and business leaders. Why are we attracted to some things and not to others? Why do some messages captivate us while others leave us searching for more? The answer lies with fascination. The book that I will be reviewing this week is Fascinate, Your 7 Triggers to Persuasion and Captivation. The author is Sally Hogshead, and the book was published in 2010 and is 250 pages, and the publisher is HarperCollins. And here's what you should know about this book. Sally talks about something that is rarely discussed in marketing. In fact, most marketing books that I've ever read, they talk about the tactics of marketing and advertising, but they don't talk about the big stuff, which is what makes a message captivating and exciting and what makes it not. You see, in the book, Sally includes a lot of examples. She provides examples of companies and people that are fascinating and those that aren't. And then furthermore, she tells you why they're fascinating and why they're not. So a little bit about the author before we begin. Sally Hogshead is a speaker, an author, and a consultant on the topic of brand innovation. Her clients include companies like Nike, Target, Cole Haan, Godiva, and Mini Cooper. And she's been featured on TV numerous times, NBC, CBS, ABC, MSNBC. She's been on The Today Show twice. And she's also been featured in such notable publications as the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and many, many others. Sally is a veteran of the ad business. And aside from owning her own ad agency, she also was responsible for opening the West Coast office for the famed firm Crispin Porter Bogusky, and is an advertising veteran. So I'm going to dig right into this. It was a really, really great book, and I'm going to share with you the 7 fascination triggers. This is a business book review show, so you're probably saying, Adam, well, what are the 7 triggers that lead the mind to be fascinated? So I'm going to go through them. The first that Sally identifies is lust. If your message currently relies on a rational message, then adding lust can increase the desirability. Makes simple sense, right? So what lust does is it makes the ordinary more emotional. And by using the 5 senses, you can bring out lust by evoking the sense of smell or taste or touch. It can create a message that's much, much more lustful. As a motivator, your desire is more powerful than fulfillment. As a motivator, desire is much more powerful than actual fulfillment of that desire. The pursuit of pleasure is often more fascinating than the pleasure itself. So, you see, here's what it means. Lust turns I really shouldn't into I really shouldn't, but I will anyways. And one of the great examples that Sally uses to illustrate how a company has used lust to make their message more attractive is Cirque du Soleil. And if anybody's ever been to a Cirque show, you know that they have evocative imagery and language. And that's what's made Cirque du Soleil the powerful, differentiated entertainment experience that a circus cannot even come anywhere close to touching. In fact, the majority of Cirque du Soleil's performances are all in Las Vegas, Sin City, a city that's known for selling lust, really more than anything else. The second fascination trigger Sally identifies is mystique. And mystique is revealing just enough to pique curiosity, but still remaining what she calls shadowy enough to prompt questions. Mystique is the most nuanced and difficult fascination factor to achieve. In fact, mystique invites others closer without giving them exactly what they seek. Good mystique messages spark curiosity, but they purposefully withhold information, they build mythology, and they limit access. Let me give you two great examples that Sally shares in the book. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, and Colonel Sanders. You probably remember that his secret recipe is 11 herbs and spices. And guess what? They've never revealed exactly what that combination of herbs and spices are. Believe it or not, that creates a mystique factor that keeps people coming back for more. Another great example is Coca-Cola. Reportedly, the Coca-Cola secret formula is under lock and key and is more well guarded than Fort Knox itself. And the mystique of that secret formula, what makes a Coke a Coke? So many people have tried to imitate it, yet they just can't quite get there. That secret formula is a factor of mystique that does keep people coming back for more and keeps people buying Coca-Cola. The third fascination factor is alarm. Under the influence of alarm, people respond in one of two ways. They attempt to get rid of danger, or they panic and flee the perceived danger. You see, a few generations ago, we experienced alarm every day. In fact, in the hunter and gatherer society, every single day, you woke up wondering if you were going to get eaten alive by a beast and animal bigger than you. But now, with modern day technology and conveniences, we don't worry about getting eaten on a daily basis. And for most of us, we miss that rush of alarm. So here's what you need to know about alarm. It's limited quantity. It's act now or lose your opportunity. A great example is Ron Popeil, Ronco, the famous infomercial pitchman. You probably remember the Pocket Fisherman or the Showtime rotisserie chicken. What infomercials do better than just about anything else is they actually create alarm. Buy it now. If you order within the next 20 minutes, you'll receive this free gift. And take your payments and break it into 4 equal installments. And we only have limited supply. You've probably watched QVC before, where you actually see the number of units they have in stock ticking down on the screen right in front of you. Infomercials use alarm. Remember that famous Got Milk campaign? The idea of running out of milk while eating chocolate chip cookies? You remember that? You remember the imagery of the person who was eating, he was shoving his face full of chocolate chip cookies. He opened up the fridge and there were all the milk cartons, but there wasn't a single drop of milk in any of the cartons. That, my friend, is using the alarm fascination trigger to sell your product. The fourth is prestige. It's in our nature to prove worth and value. People today are still drawn to objects and endeavors that represent social standing. You see, we'll be fascinated by prestige as long as we remain hardwired to compare ourselves to those around us. Prestige rates people and objects relative to one another. Prestigious people can evoke admiration, but more often, prestigious people evoke competition and envy. But see, prestige really increases the perceived value that a company or a person has in the marketplace. So here's 4 ways to increase prestige, so says Sally Hogshead. Number 1, develop emblems. Number 2, set new standards. Number 3, limit your availability. And number 4, earn it. Here's a great example of prestige, the Mary Kay pink Cadillac. If you know anything about Mary Kay, you know that the coveted pink Cadillac is the ultimate pinnacle of success within that direct sales organization. And it's an emblem of prestige that they've created quite successfully to keep the salespeople motivated. The iPhone, the iPad, forcing people to wait in long lines, that also creates prestige. But you see, today, modern day prestige can come from something as simple as running a marathon, winning a Rhodes Scholarship, or in some cases, procuring a limited edition of a Prius or some other hard-to-get object. Power, number 5. Powerful people control our behavior in myriad ways. Wordlessly, they set the rules. You see, as Sally Hogshead argues, in the presence of power, we instinctively become submissive. In fact, we're programmed in our genetic code to follow the leader. So what's a great example of a brand or company that's used power? The billion-dollar blue pill. You know what I'm talking about, maybe. Viagra. Viagra tapped into the male psyche by saying that if you couldn't get it up, you in a sense were powerless, and you had less power than your peers around you. No joke. Viagra successfully used the fascination trigger of power to convince men that if they were fertile and they could get it up, they had more power than those around them. And guess what? They took that all the way to the bank. Viagra, still today, is the best-selling ED drug in the history of pharmaceuticals. Vice, number 6. When we're told we can't have something, you know what that means? We want it even more. And it triggers fascination. And when that triggers us and takes hold, oh boy, we're not going to stop until we get it. You see, vice includes everything you want to do. You know you shouldn't do it, but you still might do it anyways. That's what vice is. We know we shouldn't do it, but we still want to do it, and now even more. For kids, could be smoking marijuana. For adults, having that additional drink or cigarette that they know they shouldn't have. Or maybe it's going to the movie or the club that they know they probably shouldn't be at, but they still want to do it anyways. That's vice. And vice is really something that fascinates us. And when you look at our heroes, when they fall and succumb to vice, we become even more attracted to them. Let me provide you with 2 examples. Michael Phelps, you remember him? He won 8 gold medals at the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing. Michael Phelps was the American swimming phenomenon. And just a couple of months after Beijing, you probably remember, scandal hit Michael Phelps. The famous picture of him smoking marijuana from a bong at a college frat party. And guess what? That quintessential picture of Michael Phelps with the bong, guess what he had on his wrist? An Omega wristwatch. One of Mr. Phelps' sponsors. And Omega would never admit this publicly, but I guarantee you each and every marketing executive was cheering for joy. The publicity they got and being attached to the vice tied with Mr. Phelps' indecent deed, boy, it captivated a nation. And more recently, how about Anthony Weiner, that congressman from New York who just couldn't help himself but from sending pictures of his anatomy over the internet through Facebook and Twitter. The vice that created and the interest that created in the American psyche, unbelievable. When you look at the company Tabasco, or when you look at the company Wonder Bra, 2 brands, 2 products, they fabulously used the power of vice to compel people to purchase. In fact, when you look at previews for TV shows, you'll see vice, especially reality TV. Whether it's Survivor or Big Brother, the scenes that they show are somebody getting kicked off the island or about to be kicked off the island, or the whispering behind people's backs, or the preview of the infamous sex scene that's to come. All of that elicits vice within us, and it makes us want to watch, and it makes us want to pay attention. But know this, if you're interested in building a long-term relationship with your clients and customers, vice isn't going to be your trigger. The 7th and final fascination trigger, and probably the opposite of vice, is trust. Trust is the most complex, nuanced, and fragile trigger. It makes it hardest to earn. And boy, again, it's fragile. Trust has an exposure effect. The more we're exposed to something or someone, the more we trust it, and the more we like it. Earning trust demands an investment of time and effort because predictability requires guaranteed certainty. Trusted brands pay attention to details. They reinforce consistency between the expectations that the customer has and the results that they actually deliver. The reward, though, for earning trust and loyalty is priceless. The reward for earning trust is loyalty. And every person and every company desperately wants loyal customers. So let me give you a few examples of companies that effectively use trust to build their business. The first is Tiffany & Company. For all the ladies watching, you probably know that quintessential blue box. The Tiffany box and the Tiffany engagement ring evokes a sense of trust that few other jewelry brands can even come close to touching. McDonald's, the Golden Arches, it creates a sense of trust. Not saying it's the best food in the world, but any single restaurant you go to, anywhere around the world, you can be guaranteed you're going to get the same crappy hamburger. I'm just kidding. But you can be sure that you're going to get a consistent level of food and a consistent level of service. And that consistency creates trust. And also, how about this? There's a lot of consumer product companies, when they introduce a new product, they'll use an old song in the commercial and in the advertising. It's that new product from Procter & Gamble with the old tune from the Beatles ringing in the background. Why do companies use old songs? Because you know it, you like it, and you trust it. And that trust that you have for that piece of music penned by the Fab Four in England, you take that trust you have with the Beatles and you subconsciously convert it to the new product that's being introduced when that song's in the background. So, it's time for my famous business book review, and let's get the gong out. So, trust, vice, loyalty, prestige, power, all these great things. What does all that mean? Well, in my opinion, this is a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star book. And let me tell you why it's a 5-star book. There's really 2 reasons. The first is that few books are written on this topic. Everything's about the tactics of marketing. Very few books talk about the subconscious reason why consumers are attracted and interested in something to begin with. And quite frankly, attraction and interest is 98% of the equation, but most people spend all their time on the 2%. Which is the tactics of marketing after somebody's already decided to buy. The second reason why this is a 5-star book is because in the second section of the book, it actually has a number of exercises that you and your company can go through to make you, your message, and your business more fascinating. This book talks about the things that are most important to getting your product and your service purchased. Simple as that. A little bit of me and a whole lot of you. And we're showing the world that we entrepreneurs mean business.